Hi everyone, this is John here. I have been working in the IT industry for quite some time and I've been mainly working in the integration area. Today we are going to talk about enterprise application integration. We are going to talk about the next advanced steps, what are things are there in EA integration. So this is part 2 of this video. So if you have not, if you directly come to this video, my recommendation is go ahead and look into the another video which I have created called as Enterprise Application Integration Basics. Here I have given you the link of that particular video. Please go ahead and have a look at it. So if you see in the previous video, we just talked about a hub and spoke architecture, and hub and spoke architecture is the preferred way of communication in the integration. And we are talking about routing, transformation, and some of the commercial softwares that are available in the market. So just a recap of what exactly we saw in the last video. So if you see what exactly this EA software contains. So if you see it as we see in the previous video, we talked about integration means it consists of four different methodologies: messaging, file transfer, then using common database, remote procedure invocation. So these are the things that is what we were talking about. So if you take any EA software which is available in the market, you would be seeing all these capabilities are embedded inside the EA software. And on the top of it, whatever industry specific modules that are readily available. For example, we have Salesforce, PeopleSoft. So these are like industry specific. Or in other words, we can say they're the popular softwares that are available in the market. So those software capabilities also are included in the EA software. And also the common communication protocols on the application layer, namely the HTTP, FTP. So these kind of application layer protocol support also is available. So if you see all these things, again, if you have seen in the previous video, EA softwares, that we are talking, we were all this integration all is happening at the application layer. So again, I like to reiterate this EA software are all which we are speaking in terms of the application layer. Keep that in mind, please. So with this, I like to just jump into little bit specifics on messaging. Messaging is something that has been widely popular. That's what I pointed out in the previous video. So let's deep dive into this messaging and let's see what are the things that are there in that particular messaging. Okay, let's focus on messaging. Let's see. Suppose there are two applications which you want to communicate via messaging. Consider one application is running in computer one and another application is running in the computer two. So if they want to communicate via messaging, what are things happens is the sending application first of all creates a particular message. So that is the first message means it's actually the data that it wants to send to the receiving application. So that is what it will do, and it will take that particular message. It has to be sent to the messaging platform, or in other words, via messaging it has to be sent across. So it will do a send operation. Once it does the send, then it is the duty of that particular messaging system or a messaging software, whatever you can call it. It is a duty of it to send that particular message to the namely to the that particular computer, namely the target computer that the receiving application is residing. It's not necessary that always it has to be in the target computer. It can be residing the same computer also. That also is feasible, but just in order to explain how communication is happening between computers, this pictorial diagram is there. So if you see here, so the target application you are having that particular messaging software. So it has that particular message that we have created, it has to be delivered to the target computer via the messaging system. And finally the receiving application will receive that particular message from the messaging software or the messaging platform, and then it will receive it. And then finally the step 5, here you are seeing that it is getting processed by the receiving application. So these are the 5 different steps. Step 1 is create, send, then third step is deliver, the fourth step is receive, and the fifth step is the processing of the message. So if you see in this, what exactly, there are two important things that we have to keep in mind. One is the send and forget. What exactly happens is the sending application. Here we are saying the sending application, what it does is it is sending that particular message and then it forgets that particular message. After the sending of it, its duty is over, it continues with its activity. That is what messaging is all about. It is asynchronous. So it sends a message and forgets it. Whereas if you take in the second, there is one more thing called a store and forward. So it is the duty of the messaging platform to store that message and forward it to the target computer and ensure that particular message is available for the receiving application. So that is what we call as a store and forward. So these two things, when we send and forget is nothing but asynchronous communication. Store and forward is nothing. We are ensuring that particular message is not lost when the sending application is sending to the messaging system, and ensuring that message is available for the consumption for the receiving application till it comes up or till it consumes. So these are the two important the two important methods or the two important methodologies that are popping up out of this particular messaging in this particular diagram. So let's take messaging and then let's go a little bit deep dive and see what exactly is happening. So suppose I'm going to have messaging as my mode of communication among the applications. Consider if you see application A, B, C, D, all the places I've just marked it here as MQ. So if you see all are using MQ, when all are using MQ, what would happen? Yeah, it would make my life simpler because I need not worry about any protocol transformation. Everyone is using messaging, and as a result of which, if there is for example, application A is trying to send a message to application B, so XML is the data format, target is going to be in JSON. So messaging is going to be the transportation medium. So I have to just take that particular message, put it into MQ, XML message, I have to put it into MQ. It is a duty of the particular EA software to take care of the transformation, data transformation, and after doing the data transformation, it will send it in the form of JSON. So here, the protocol transformation, if you see here, I've just striked out the protocol transformation. The reason why I striked out protocol transformation is because it's not required, because MQ is going to be the communication medium. So we need not require that. But data transformation, it may or may not require. Again, it depends upon the source and the target applications. So what are the advantages if you see in this particular methodologies? You're going to have asynchronous way of communication, as said in the previous slide. Another is the reliable communication. So application A is trying to send it to application B. So what exactly happens is you are able to ensure that application B is able to receive the message, and that message is not lost when application A sends it. For some reason, application A is not in a position to resend that particular message. In that scenario, it is the duty of the messaging system to take care of it. So that kind of reliable communication is what the messaging system is providing for us. That is what we talked about earlier as storage. So this is how EI messaging is plays a very vital important role in the communication between the applications. You'll be asking where this kind of messaging plays a very important role. Let's take the case of banking. Okay, consider we are having a bank. Okay, so you are having an account and there is another person having another account. Okay, so you are trying to transfer a message or another trying to transfer an amount from one account to another account. For example, like 1,000 rupees or you are trying to transfer it. What would happen is you have to transfer that particular message or that the information to the namely to the target application. Let's take this simple example. So if this scenario, what exactly happens is you have to debit the account and then you have to credit it. Consider this particular information where this message is having, this message is lost. What would happen is you would have been debited from the source application, or the target application is where that particular credit is supposed to happen. You are not able to credit it because the message is lost in the middle. Then what would happen? There will be inconsistency of data. So these kind of things is where this kind of reliable messaging comes into picture. So messaging really helps a lot in to ensure that all the applications are consistent in receiving the messages. No messages are lost. So this is a very very important feature that is the current IT industry is using. Okay, so there are some scenarios where data lossage is a fine. For example, let's take the case of news. Okay, namely the cricket news which is coming in. So when a cricket news is coming, what exactly happened is now, for example, half an hour ago some news which is lost. If it is I'm live streaming, let's take the case of live streaming of cricket. Okay, so 1 minute ago there was one run which was got, and the next 1 minute that same one run it it have got accumulated, and then it have what would happen is that particular run information would have got updated because another ball would have been bowled, and that particular the batsman would have hit a sixer or a four. That kind of things would have happened. So that particular message, whatever it is coming in a delayed fashion, it would not make sense in that kind of scenario. So those kind of messages we can make. So there, this particular loss of message is acceptable. Whereas in the case of banking scenario, it is not acceptable at all. So in case of live streaming, I would say it is acceptable. Whereas in case of the scenario where transactions are happening, it is not an acceptable feature at all. So keeping that in mind, so we should know where this particular messaging can be used, where it is not fitting in. That kind of decision we have to take, and that is what the duty of the architect. Architect will be taking that call. So let's see what are the things. If you see, okay, I have decided to use messaging. Suppose if I have to decided to use messaging, so what are the things that are involved? What are the different components of messaging? You see, so suppose application A wants to send a message to application B. Okay, so what application A will do is it will create a message. So that message is also one of the components. So it is creating a message. So that message with application A, it has to send it to the messaging system. So messaging, where it would be sending it will be sending it to the message channel. So that is point number 2. That is the second component. So it would be sending to the message channel. Message channel is nothing but it is a location, or it's a kind of a file system where the messaging system is handling, just like a database. It is a location where it will be handling it, and that place that particular message will be dropped. And once that particular message comes, so suppose in this scenario where application A wants to send to application B, so XML message I have to send it to and I have sorry that message, that particular message given the application A, I have to send it to application B. So the message has to be routed. So what that particular routing, who would be taking care of the routing is, again, it would be the part of the AI or the particular messaging software. It will be having that capability. So message router would be the third component. And again, if you want to do the transformation, and in order to send it to the target application, as I said earlier, you have to do some data transformation. So it is called a message translator. So XML message has to be converted into JSON, and that would be the message translator. So again, it would be handled by the messaging software, or it would be the EA software, whichever it is. You can use a combination of it, and then you can achieve that particular message router and the message translator can be achieved. So these are the four important components, I would say, which forms the core of the particular messaging components. So there is also one more scenario called as message endpoint. Okay, let's take the scenario of where application C, I have to send it to application D. So in that scenario, what exactly happens is application C, when it wants to send it to application D, application C can't communicate with the messaging system. If it can't communicate with the messaging system, what would happen? It won't be able to send the message to application. So the reason is application C is a very old application. Let's consider that scenario. Application C is a very old application, and it is not having the capability to send it to the messaging system. In that scenario, we have to write a common piece of code that would be understanding both the legacy system as well as it would be able to communicate with the messaging system. So I would say it's a kind of a bridge which tries to connect the application C as well as the messaging system. So that kind of bridge is what we call as a message endpoint. Most of the scenarios, if you see the EA softwares or the messaging softwares, they provide this kind of messaging endpoint. They have the capability, or the software comes with inbuilt capability, or they give it out of the box these messaging endpoints, and as a result of which that kind of coding would not be required. But there are scenarios where this kind of creation of that particular endpoints, coding has to be done, that would be required. So they would be providing a set of APIs, or a set of interfaces would be provided by the messaging system. You can use that one, and then you can create your own in scenarios which are very complex, or which is not possible at all, which is not available out of the box. That scenario is what I'm talking about. So totally, we are having five messaging components. One, two, three, four are the main. Fifth one, it all depends upon how complex or how old your application is, or how compatibility. Based upon the compatibility, messaging endpoint comes into the picture. So these are the important messaging components. Let's move further. So here, these are the if you go to the eapatterns.com or the enterprise application and integration patterns.com site, so these are the different things which they have brought it out. So they have something called as messaging. So after that, in chapter 2, they are in that particular book which I already prescribed in the first video. If you see this book, that particular book, this architecture is what they follow in order to explain. So message channel, just now we talked about message, then we talked about message router just now. Pipes and filters is nothing but you want whenever a message comes in, if you want to do a kind of a validation of that particular message, whether it is confining to that particular messaging system, then it's called as pipe and filter. Some kind of extra validation, I would say. So that kind of processing is what we call as pipes and filters. So next we have message router. We talked about it. Message translator. We talked about it. Then finally we have the message endpoint. So that also we talked about it. So this is how, if you see, we can go inside each and every message channel. So that be further subcategorization for each and every topic that is there in this particular thing. So chapter 3, 4, 5, they are subtopics. So you can go drill down and then you can learn a lot about it. So that is again that I would be taking it in a second in another video, if everyone is interested in. Otherwise, I like to just conclude here. So if you see, these are the different EA patterns everyone should be aware of if you want to master the EA world. So with this, I like to just conclude my video. So again, the references have been provided: enterpriseintegrationpatterns.com and the book which this particular author has written, namely Gregory Hope book. This is what I also recommend. It's really a good book to get kick started in your EI integration. Thank you very much for your timing. Have a nice day.